Shai should be shooting more free throws.
Russ means more to the Thunder than what can happen on the court.
Throwing your body into another player is not basketball.
How do you feel about Michael Jordan?
Nikola Jokic is more of a point guard than he is a center.
We won, let's go!
My first claim is Shai should be shooting more free throws.
You think he's shooting more free throws?
Yeah, for sure.
Explain why.
Shai leads the league in drives per game by a lot. It's almost 3 more drives than anybody else.
Yes, okay.
And yet his free throw rate is nowhere near a lot of other players in the league who are nowhere near as good as getting into the lane, drawing that contact, are nowhere near as lengthy, as shifty, creating that type of contact. So if you take a look at the numbers, it just feels like Shai doesn't really get the rate of free throws compared to the drives that he has, that he brings to the table, that he should be.
Is he actually being fouled on all those drives that he's going into the paint? Because you may drive in a lot of those times, but as potential contact that he's getting, is it actually warranting of a foul? Because a lot of the times he actually gets the calls, they're not really warranting a foul. Some are, but some are really not, and even you can admit that.
Yeah, I mean, not every drive should lead to a foul. 100% agree. It's not a one-to-one. A lot of times when people are like, Shai is a free throw merchant, this and that, I don't think they really watch Shai play all that much. You just go on Twitter and you see the 3 or 4 screen caps of he's getting hit and there's a facial reaction. Like, it's become a very narrative-driven argument as opposed to reflecting the numbers or reflecting if you actually watch. And it does feel like throughout the playoffs, some people kind of came to realize that, hey, this guy is just one of the best mid-range scorers ever. He's one of the best drivers to the basket ever. One of the best offensive players ever.
Best ever. We need to relax on that, I think, a little bit.
No, I don't think so.
We do.
I think we're doing really good.
We've had one season of Shai doing this at a high level, which has led to the success that it has in terms of him winning and having these accolades in MVP. So best ever, I would like to see him do it a couple more times before best ever.
This is his 3rd straight All-NBA first-team season. The past 3 years, he's been the most consistent scorer in the NBA, averaging over 30, leading the league in 30
more than Jokic?
Games. Absolutely. There is no argument against Shai being the most consistent scorer in the NBA. There isn't. He's more efficient than almost anybody else. Jokic, I will grant you, is also up there in that conversation.
I would argue Jokic is the most efficient player in the NBA when it comes to not only his scoring, but his playmaking as well, simultaneously.
Shai is getting 30 every single night at least. Some guys might score 70. Shai has scored 50 a few times over the course of this season, but more consistency, what he's bringing every night. So basically what I'm getting to is Shai plays a very consistent game. It is downhill attacking. He's going to pull up in the mid-range, and those are types of plays, as opposed to other stars who also get a high number of free throws. They shoot more threes. Shai has upped the three-point frequency, but it's still not to the level of some other guys who, especially all-time, have gotten more free throws. Like, for example, Kobe. How do you feel about? You feel good about Kobe? You're a Lakers fan, right?
I'm a LeBron James fan.
A LeBron James fan?
I'm a Laker fan currently because of LeBron James.
But Kobe had 3 straight seasons in the mid-2000s of over 10-plus free throws per game is what I'm talking about, and yet no one ever says Kobe is a free throw merchant. Jordan had a number of seasons, double-digit free throws, something that Shai has not done, where people are like, hey, people talk about Jordan being a free throw merchant, when in reality, a lot of the contact, a lot of the ways they drew similar contact, it's the exact same. It's just because it's new and people have not yet gotten used to Shai being one of these all-time greats.
Shai does not need to get more fouls. Players need to start getting less fouls called. The NBA needs to start being less soft, and fouls need to be called less frequently. So that's why Shai should not be getting more calls. If anything, he gets enough as it is.
I want to bring some numbers your way.
Sounds good.
Shai Gilgeous, in the last season, was 2nd in field goals attempted, correct? Only behind Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Yeah.
11.8, I believe.
Yeah, Shai was up there, yeah.
Right. So for you to say Shai should be shooting more free throws when he's already number 2. In addition, when the playoffs come, he's actually fouled more per minute than he is in the regular season. So how is it that when the stakes are raised and he's being fouled even more than he is in the regular season, that the man needs to be shooting more free throws?
Because I think when you take a look at, especially this year in the playoffs, it was very physical. I'm not
as it should be. What's the complaint?
I 100% agree. Like, I'm not saying that Shai needs to be getting a foul every. Like, he gets bumped a little bit, especially in the playoffs. I'd prefer that a lot of those things go uncalled. A majority of what I'm talking about is regular season, and I still do think in the playoffs, narratives in the NBA, especially more than any other league, kind of drive how things go. Like, it's a soap opera sometimes with the NBA.
Well, it can be a soap opera when you have Shai Gilgeous' head snapping and arm hooking.
I mean, if you take a look at blurry screen. If you only take a look at blurry screenshots on Twitter, for sure.
It's not about screen caps because I just watched a YouTube compilation on the way over here.
So you watch a YouTube compilation as opposed to me who watch every single minute of the Thunder season? There's a complete big difference.
Just because you watched more doesn't mean you saw the full picture. When you see in depth, okay, when you see the entire games, when you're watching all of the games and you're cherry picking the moments, it's like needles in haystacks. When you have the ability to create compilations, we've gone too far.
I don't agree because when you take a look at a player who over the course of a season, again, drives more than anybody, anybody. His whole game is interior. He shot just over 5 threes a game. He's not out in the perimeter. He's backing guys down. And because he is so dangerous, because he's one of the best scorers that we've seen in a long time, when he pump fakes in the mid-range, guys immediately have to try and do something about it, because if you don't get a hand up, he's hitting it over you. So it leads to a lot of contact on the wrist, and it leads to a lot of people bumping him, or he pump fakes. And then, yeah, there are the plays where he jumps forward. It's the same thing that Dwayne Wade did for years. Kobe did the same thing. Jordan did the same thing. It's nothing new, and yet no one ever calls them free throw merchants, because they have all this lore. Like, there's all this kind of
the aura of
the aura.
Sure,
on it,
I don't
for sure.
disagree with that point.
Yeah.
I think drawing contact as a shooter and as a scorer is a skill.
Yeah, I
not
100%
something
agree.
that somebody should be penalized for.
Yeah.
However, when you look at the players who do that, you don't frame that as a defining skill set. Okay, and when you look at a guy like Shai Gilgeous, or if you look at in previous player who can compare him to a James Harden, right? You can create a narrative where you say, hey, they rely on getting to the free throw line to make up those points.
But there are a lot of games in the playoffs, especially, where Shai's not getting the free throws the way that people are like, he gets them in the regular season, and then he goes on to win Finals MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, has a great playoff run. And also, I don't think the comparison for James Harden is nowhere even close. James Harden would literally jump on the back of somebody and make them fall. That clip with Marcus Smart. Again, I don't want to pick clips because I know that's the way it goes, but so Harden, I think, was much more egregious than that, and ultimately Shai is doing a lot of stuff that people have done in the past, but because it's newer, it hasn't internalized yet. I just think he kind of brings to the table the same stuff that Wade did, or Kobe, or Jordan, when it comes to drawing those fouls.
I'm going to be really quick with this. How many years has Shai Gilgeous been in the league?
Shai has been in the league since 2018. He was drafted.
Okay, so since 2018 to 2025, Shai Gilgeous is 7th in drawn fouls amongst all active players, and we have players who have been in the league for 15 plus years. I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, but when he's one of the most prolific drivers, especially at the guard position ever, and he has that wiry 6'6" frame, I think it leads to more contact. But, I mean, fair point. Yeah. Hey, good talking, man.
I'm glad that we brought up my brother Jim Harden a second ago, because you were just saying about how, you can't blame SGA. Drawing contact is like a skill, which it is, and I agree with you. It's a larger problem of the NBA. But you're saying he should get more fouls called. We talk about unethical hoops, right? I'm sure you've seen that if you're on the apps and whatnot.
Yeah, a little
but
bit.
Do you not think he's trying to draw these fouls? Because I agree, the foul merchant stuff, it gets blown up, right? Yeah. He is his change of direction. He's a special player.
Yeah.
But he tries to draw contact, and like Jim Harden did. I find that bizarre. Why does he do that? Why should he get more fouls called when he's already trying to draw fouls?
I do agree there are times where Shai goes for that contact. And there has been very few great scorers ever, like all-time scorers, that have not pursued contact that way. Steph Curry is one of the only few ones. LeBron also, because he's like a freight train, so he doesn't really pursue contact quite that much. But, there are the LeBron flops, things like that happen.
That's not true. Show me clips.
Okay, for sure.
Move on.
Yeah, it's fine.
Go. Onward. Go.
But yeah, so very few all-time scorers that have not had to get to the line a lot. One of the big
to get to the line and doing it purposely. You'd agree that in the last couple of years, it's gotten a little bit out of control with these guys trying to draw fouls, right? When I'm going, you're talking about how often
I think it was a little bit worse.
Instead of going to the hole and trying to finish, these guys lean into the contact and try to draw a foul, so they get
That's something I don't agree with, that Shai doesn't try to finish these plays, because he absolutely does. Every time you see Shai get bumped or something, he's putting the shot up.
He's falling on the ground and making some crazy facial
and probably making
too.
the and one as well. Shai is not going into these shots just to get the contact. He's going into
You don't
these
think
shots.
so? There are times he's doing
I think
that.
he's going to get the contact, but I think the ultimate goal is to still make the bucket. It's not like other than a rip
I agree
through,
with that. I receive
sometimes
that.
there are rip throughs, arm out, rip through. That is just going to try to get to the free throw line. But ultimately, the goal is to get an and one on these plays. When someone jumps into them, Shai, gets them off the ground, jumps into them. Shai's ultimate goal is to still make the bucket. It's not just to get to the free throw line, which is why Shai has tied the record last year for a game that had the most and ones ever. Shai does this type of stuff.
What is it, 3? Okay, great. So the
I think
rip
4 or
throughs.
5. I think actually 5. I think was the answer.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. But do you not think that that's a bad style of basketball? I think I don't think the NBA should be calling a guy who's trying to draw contact. But Shai gets too much hate for it. I agree. But to sit here and say, I get your rage baiting, say he should get more free throws. Okay,
honestly,
cool.
Not.
But do you not? He's trying to draw free throws. I find that very bizarre. He's trying to draw fouls.
I keep saying this.
A lot of other players do it. Let's talk about SGA doing it.
Yeah, because with Shai, when you talk about elevating to the next level and continuing to become better as a scorer, there are going to be times where teams are really physical with you, especially a scorer like Shai, who ultimately isn't. He's not built like LeBron or something like that.
No, he's not.
No, teams are gonna try.
LeBron's huge. LeBron rules.
teams are trying to be physical with Shai as much as possible. So there are a lot of these times where he is getting bumped, and
you're saying he's getting bumped, and they get bumped. He's purposely trying to draw the contact. You're not saying he's getting bumped and trying to draw the.
The thing is, I'm not disagreeing that Shai tried. I'm disagreeing. Yeah, we can agree. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing that Shai is trying to draw contact 100%, but I'm talking about there are a lot of times because like he still gets bumped and he doesn't get that call as many times as he drives pre-game. There are a lot of times where I think refs are just swallowing their whistle because they're like, like
with SGA.
Yes.
All right. Cool.
My next claim is that Shai is the greatest player in Thunder history.
Somebody get that man.
Who are you putting under him? Who are the 2-3 players you're putting under him?
Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant.
So you don't think that Russell Westbrook's better than him?
As the greatest player in Thunder history? No.
Yes. Why not?
When I first started watching basketball, I kind of fell in love with the game in large part because of Russ. Russ is my second favorite player of all time. And ultimately with Russ, he held this great legacy with the Thunder. He stayed after KD left, won an MVP, kind of ride and died for the city.
Okay.
And then ultimately he's gone. Shai comes in, and now he's the one that got the franchise over the hump after a lot of heartbreak after the 3-1 loss to the Golden State Warriors. Shai is very much, he doesn't quite yet have the numbers that Russ does in totality as a member of the OKC Thunder, but in terms of the peak that we've reached, Shai just had the best season by anybody ever in a Thunder jersey.
Scoring-wise, yeah.
I think in general.
Scoring-wise.
I think in general.
He's an ISO scorer. I mean, if you look at Russell Westbrook's stats throughout his Thunder career, Mr. Triple-Double, there's a reason that he has that nickname. Shai can't do that. I think he had 1 triple-double, which is the same amount as Jalen Pickett this year, by the way.
Nugget legend.
So that's why I would give Russell Westbrook I'll give Russell Westbrook the 100%. He's the best player in Thunder history. You look at the team that Shai just had. If you put the 12th, 13th, 14th man on certain teams, they're probably in the rotation as the 6, 7, 8 man. With Russell Westbrook, he had Andre Roberson starting.
Okay, let's not do Andre Roberson.
No, 100% we're doing
Andre Roberson.
100% we're doing Andre Roberson because you're saying that Shai did this. Shai took them there. Sure, he scored, right? I'll give that. Shai's a great scorer. He's a great ISO scorer. He doesn't provide much to the team as a 6'6" point guard. You would expect him to get closer to 10 rebounds than Russell Westbrook, even closer to 12 at that point. At 6'6", you should be doing everything but scoring. Not but scoring, obviously. You could score as much as you want, but you should be able to be up there in assists if you're the best point guard in the history of this team. You should be able to be up there in rebounds, especially over a guy who Russ is 6'3". And again, we're going to go right back to it. Look at Russ's teams. They were good. They had the big three, and they lost to LeBron. I mean, what are you going to do about it? James Harden was younger, but once Harden leaves, he's jacked, by the way, massive. You add Thabo Cephalosha. You add Jeremy Lamb. You're adding Eric Maynard.
A lot of Thunder legend slander, which
Eric Maynard, Thunder legend.
Yeah.
But you look at this roster. I think the Thunder were 5-1 in the 6 games that Shai didn't play because they were genuinely maybe the most deep team in NBA history at that point.
Yeah, it was an absolutely amazing team, 100%. But also, not only has the supporting cast changed, but the play style changed too.
Foul baiting.
With Russ, the goal was a lot of times you get the ball, and also you're not going to be slandering Russell Westbrook. I love Russell Westbrook to death. I'm so mad he's not on a team right now.
Yeah.
But with Russ, the plan was a lot of time to get the ball in his hands immediately. So it was like Biggs would box out, Russ would go get the rebound, and again, I'm not going to.
That's team basketball, yeah.
But that was a lot. Part of that was to get the ball in his hands because his play style.
But he was also chasing rebounds.
Yeah, for sure. But his play style is very different from Shai's, where Shai's is not grab the rebound. He's the fastest player on the court, sprint down and go ahead and dunk on someone. Shai plays a different style of game.
It's not a team game. It's an isolation game.
They wouldn't have won a championship if it wasn't a team game.
If you take them in, they were 5-1 without Shai playing in the season this year. They had 6 games. They're a great team.
An incredibly deep team.
Again, Shai is a great scorer, but you can't take away from Russell Westbrook.
The thing is with the Thunder, this team is heavily defensively slanted. Offensively, the team still leaves a good bit to be desired. You saw in the playoffs, the 3-point percentage dropped quite a bit. There were some inconsistencies. Shai was hyper consistent, but you talk about this team, the reason that they're able to be so good even without Shai is because there is the defensive floor. Also, a lot of the games that Shai didn't play were towards the end of the season against really bad teams like the Portland Trailblazers, for example. Not meant to be Portland slander, but you think about where Shai's play style is very different from Russ's. So of course he's not going to average 10 rebounds per game because they're not trying to get the ball in Shai's hand immediately. And yeah, Shai's not as good of a rebounder as Russ. Russ's playmaking is incredible. But I think Shai is an underrated playmaker, and I also do believe Shai is a vastly superior scorer when it comes to the efficiency that he brings to the table. Russ had that really good season, but was never a great 3-point shooter. Shai, the game is so much easier. He can be that offensive engine so much easier because he is this much more well-rounded scorer. And ultimately, I do think getting over the hump, winning a championship, Finals MVP, stuff like that, winning the MVP outright, beating out Jokic, who had one of the greatest seasons ever himself this year.
He had no help, but okay.
Sure, you can say that, but he ends up winning the award.
Obviously.
But ultimately, all these
voter
accolades,
fatigue.
completing the season the way that he did, I believe puts him in that pedestal. But I love Russell Westbrook. I think he's number 2. 100%.
I will give you Russell Westbrook as number 1. I'll give you Shai as number 2, and arguably the best scorer outside of maybe Kevin Durant. But like I said, I think Shai is the best scorer. He's definitely not the best player in Thunder history. Outside of, sure, a finals win and 1 MVP, you could say all you want. But again, I think if you give Russ that roster, they're a better team, and I think that they still win the finals, and they probably sweep every team getting there.
Cone, you need to be drug tested because that is the most outlandish take that I've ever heard.
I love it. What's your name, real quick?
My name is Corey. Not only is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander not number 1, he's not number 2, he's not number 3, he's not number 4. You forget Chris Paul played for Oklahoma City when he was with New Orleans, and they had that thing.
But my claim was he's
Katrina.
the best Thunder player ever. That's Oklahoma City Hornets.
He's
That's completely different.
not whatsoever. And let me go into it. Russell Westbrook is perhaps the greatest athlete in the history of pro sports. SGA is nowhere near the athlete that he is. This is why we hate the foul rage baiting, because what happens? His stats get inflated, and he looks better in comparison against other players from different eras. This is by far the weakest, softest era. Charmin, that's what it is. It's Charmin toilet paper.
Heard this
is the
before.
softest era in the history of sports. When we talk about actually going to the basket and finishing, players like Jordan in the 80s when it was real basketball, when Bill Laimbeer in Detroit would come through and take your head off, excuse my language, in the 80s, that's not what SGA is going through. So it's not even remotely comparable. And then his stats get inflated, and he looks better against those old school players who have way better legacies.
Okay.
Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double for a season. That's only been done by Oscar Robertson. And you're saying SGA with this 1 title is better than Russell Westbrook? No, not even close. Number 2 is James Harden. Number 3 is Kevin Durant. And number 4 is Chris Paul.
Okay, so let's talk about the list. James Harden, number 2? He won a 6th Man of the Year with the team. That's it. How is he number 2?
And they were in the finals and they went head-to-head with the Heatles, with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Yes.
But hey, listen, man, I watched that run. Like Harden had that,
And had it not been for that big 3, they'd have a title right now, and that team would have probably stayed together.
Yeah,
Serge Ibaka and all those
we can
guys.
talk what ifs, but also
way better
why
team
are you
than-
bringing up the physicality of the 80s and 90s when we're talking about Thunder players, a franchise
Because
that started in
the
2008?
league is so soft.
Why are we talking about
They
that?
didn't start in 2008. They were the Seattle Supersonics. And then they
I
moved
said
to the
Oklahoma City Thunder.
It's
That's
the
what I
same
said.
franchise.
Okay, but I'm
Kevin
claiming
Durant started his career with the
I
Seattle
know that, but I'm
Supersonics.
claiming Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, you know what? We want to talk the Sonics. Also, that sure. If you want to talk the whole lineage, then yes. But there's no reason.
Gary Payton, Sean Kemp. SGA doesn't hold a candle to these guys.
Oh my God!
Please,
okay,
stay off the weed. That's not what we're doing here. Drug test.
Yeah,
Not even close. And you know it. We both know that's not serious
No,
take.
we don't.
SGA is garbage. Next.
I mean, if you're just not going to argue with me in good faith, I don't know what to say because
I'm saying throwing your body into another player is not basketball.
How do you feel about Michael Jordan? How do you feel about Kobe Bryant?
How does everybody feel about Michael Jordan?
How do you feel about Dwayne Wade?
Everyone who's not
How
high
do you
right
feel
now
about
says
Dwayne
Michael
Wade?
Jordan's the GOAT. Go. He's either 1 or 2. Not below that. SGA is not top 50.
How do you feel about Dwayne Wade?
Also a top 50 player, which SGA is not.
Okay, Dwayne Wade, every move that Shai has in his book of quote-unquote foul baiting, which we already went over this, is the same thing that Dwayne Wade did. It's the exact same thing. If you go back and watch prime Dwayne Wade,
And I do the same thing as Denzel
stuff.
Washington, just not as good. SGA is in no other category.
You've never won MVP.
And he shouldn't have either.
Oh my God.
Nikola Jokic.
No, but
Thank you.
How did Kevin Durant leaving make you feel?
I hated it, but honestly, I have no ill will to Kevin Durant anymore. Like, it's so far gone. He's one of the best players to watch ever. Like, I genuinely like Kevin Durant at this point.
Okay, so now Russell Westbrook, right? Could have left. Could have asked for a trade, right?
Yeah.
So if he were to do that, how would that make you feel?
Honestly, after KD left, like, I was kind of like, okay, if Russ leaves, I don't blame him because now it's him. And the supporting cast was not good. Like, a lot of guys that season he won MVP were out of the league pretty soon after. And I do think people underrate that MVP season quite a bit. 100%.
100%, exactly.
Like, if Russ left instead of KD in 2016, I would have felt the same way. But if he had left afterwards when Kevin Durant left, like, as a fan at that point, I get it. Like, he is an MVP level player. He's one of the best in the sport. Like, go be competitive.
Missed the triple-double.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, when, it turns out he and Paul George were both, like, after losing to the Blazers in the first round 2019, they were both like, hey, we kind of need to get out of here. No ill will towards him. Like, Russ is still one of my favorites. Again, I think he should still have a job in the league. So, yeah, Russ is he's my second favorite player ever, 100%.
Paul George never comes to your team if Russell Westbrook leaves, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you don't mind those years going away, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Maintaining relevance is a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
That matters. So your team, if Russell Westbrook leaves, goes straight into tanking mode, is irrelevant because it's also in Oklahoma City. Sorry, Oklahoma City. But anyways, Russell Westbrook makes you guys relevant and keeps you guys relevant.
Yeah.
So besides just the statistical point of Shai winning MVP, Russ does that. Outside of all of that, Russ means more to the Thunder than what can happen on the court. So when we talk about greatest Thunder player of all time, we're not just saying the greatest basketball player on the court of all time for the Oklahoma City Thunder. We are talking about the greatest person that has ever put that jersey on for the community for everything that he's done.
Yeah.
So Russell Westbrook is the greatest Oklahoma City Thunder of all time.
Yeah, and I think that's a great, like, that's a very valid argument, I think, because again, you know, we do end up, if he decides to leave at that point, you know, he wasn't a free agent, so we end up trading him, so we do still get something back, like still something comes of it. But I do think there is also a lot to be said about how relevant Shai has made the Thunder right now, to the point where right now we have the same amount of nationally televised games as the Lakers and the Knicks and the Warriors. Like, that's ridiculous that a team in Oklahoma City has that. You don't win a championship as one player. It doesn't happen. Yeah, agree. But
not anymore.
Without Shai, like, the Thunder don't get anywhere close to that point.
Okay.
If Shai doesn't end up doing what he does, end up elevating his game, because you might remember for years, people on Twitter and in national media space and stuff are like, free Shai, get him out of Oklahoma City, this and that. Shai never once, despite elevating his game pretty quickly to a level beyond what a lot of people thought, because he wasn't like the #1 pick or the #3 pick or something
Agreed.
like that.
How did Shai get there?
Shai got to that point because he continued to work on his
How
game.
did Shai get traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder?
Because of the Paul George trade, which I agree.
Who brought Paul George to OKC?
But then we can play the whole. That we can play the game.
But
from
that
the
matters.
beginning.
But that
Then
matters. Russell Westbrook leaves, you never get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
We can go back then to Kevin Durant, because it's like, oh, if KD never got, you know, if he wanted to leave the Thunder earlier, didn't become the player that he did, then it doesn't matter how good Russ is, and the team never reaches that relevancy. Like, we can play the domino effect the whole time. I do think there is a great argument. Like, I think Russ is right there as #2.
Him staying for you guys saved your franchise. It is that simple.
I think there is an argument to be had there, but the franchise never reaches the heights that it is at now, which is by far the highest it's ever been, the most recognized it's ever been without Shai. My next claim is that Shai and Jokic are the two best players in the world right now.
Tell me why you feel that way.
So right now I have Jokic and Shai 1A, 1B. I kind of go back and forth.
It's
on the
1-2.
daily.
Jokic is better.
I think
We all know who's better.
If you say Jokic is better, 100%, like,
Okay.
that's a very fair argument.
So,
like, I'm not.
so we done? We done here? We win?
No.
We won. Let's go.
I think Shai is right there in that conversation. I think there is an argument, and I think I go back and forth on the daily whether it's Shai or Jokic. I'm not gonna be completely blind and biased and say Jokic has no argument, like there isn't a conversation when he's doing the stuff that he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, Steph and LeBron are still better on a one-game basis. Maybe SGA over the course of a season. Giannis, a better basketball player. There's a bunch of guys better. Even Wemby might be better than him this year. I would say this. No. A championship was more about what they did as a team and an organization than about Shai, because Shai has been the same player for the past 3 years. They brought in Caruso.
Elevated
they brought
quite a
in,
bit.
can I speak?
Yeah,
They brought in Caruso. They brought in Hartenstein.
Hartenstein.
What doesn't matter? Chet wasn't injured anymore. Jalen Williams took a leap. Now, if you give any other of these top 5 players that supporting cast, they're going to win a championship too. And they'll make their teammates better than Shai can, because he's not a great leader like some of these other guys. And also, he doesn't pass the basketball like some of these other guys.
A couple things. First of all, supporting cast, a lot going on with that. Jalen Williams, torn wrist ligament the entirety of the playoffs. There were ups
He had
and
a few
downs.
30 balls.
Yeah, he had a 40-point game in the finals. He was unbelievable. Like, hey, I'm not going to slander Jalen Williams.
So what, he would have 50 instead of 40? Like,
no,
I mean,
but
he's good. He's great.
There were quite a few games where his efficiency was far below what he wanted it to be and what people want it to be, because he's dealing with that wrist ligament injury. Chet Holmgren, nowhere near the offensive player that he was at the beginning of the season, because at the beginning of the year, he's putting up 19 and 8 on.
I mean, Chet Holmgren is the perfect modern big.
100, yeah, for sure.
100%.
But when he gets into the playoffs, the 3-ball is pretty non-existent for him, because he's coming off a broken hip for a majority of the season.
Like Shai's 3-ball?
Do you know Shai shot from 3 this season?
What?
38%.
Okay, average.
38% on 6 attempts.
37's around average.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
so,
I mean, you're saying he's the best player in the league. You're saying he's Jokic. Jokic shot a higher percentage than
but you
him.
brought up Giannis, and Giannis does not have a 3-ball.
But Jokic shoots better than him, and Jokic does everything else better than him. And he's a better passer, and he's a better 3-level scorer, and he's a better rebounder, and he can elevate his team more than SGA, and he's the best passer in the league.
Then why have they lost in the second round the past 2 years? Why'd they lose?
I just told you why.
No. Why'd they lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves?
I just told you why OKC won. It's less because SGA SGA, and it's more about the moves of the organization.
I do agree. They don't get there without
Chet,
the moves.
Jalen Williams.
People don't realize the Thunder, the only reason the offense works the way that it does is because of Shai. The team is...
That's not true.
Yes,
That's
the
not
team
true.
is very heavily defensively slanted. And
You
the
think
reason,
if Luka has that team, they don't win a championship? Let's be serious.
like Luka, Luka could probably get there, but also you talk about the
Luka is a better basketball player than SGA.
He's just not. Luka's a liability on the defensive end.
SGA is an overrated defender.
No.
Yes.
That's
yes,
just
he
not
is.
true. Shai,
yes, he is.
Shai's a
You're thinking about
fantastic team.
Clippers SGA,
Shai's
not
a
OKC
fantastic
SGA.
team. Shai, okay.
You're done.
Shai is a far better defender than he's been at any point in his career. What he is right now.
Not true.
He's asked to do a lot offensively, so there are people pull out clips. They're like, oh, okay, he missed this rotation, this and that. But also, yes, Shai is not the best defender on the team. It's Lou Dort, it's Chet Holmgren, Alex Caruso. Like there are these elite defenders, but the only reason why we can mainly have a roster of elite defenders and not a lot of top-tier offensive players is because Shai is the best offensive player in the league right now. Not best offensive player, best scorer in the league right now. And that team doesn't work if Shai's not there to drop 30 every single night, to draw all that attention, the gravity that he has. Teams are sending 2, 3, 4 bodies his way because... Can I talk now? Teams are checking the watch. What are we doing? It's a debate. So, the only reason the team is able to work the way that it is because of Shai being the elite scorer that he is.
All right, tell me this. Going to the NBA Finals against the Indiana Pacers, what was the favorited series outcome in terms of wins to losses?
Thunder were heavily favored.
What to what? What was the most picked spread of wins? It was for them to sweep the series.
I think it was 4-1. It might have been a sweep.
4-1 or 4-1. One of them they were 1-0 and 1-2.
Yeah.
How many games did it go?
1-7.
That was kind of a disappointment.
You're not wrong. I picked the Thunder, and I think ultimately 6 was the way I went going into the season, or not going to the finals. But the thing is, I think even I somehow underrated the Indiana Pacers. I don't know if you watched some of the stuff that they did. It was like the single clutchest team you've ever seen. It's not Shai's fault that the series went 7 games. Shai had unbelievable games left and right. The issue was when it came down to it, you've got Miles Turner hitting step-back corner bank threes out of nowhere. You've got Halliburton hitting some of the most clutch shots you've ever seen. I think and the entire world, despite seeing what the Pacers did, it's like, it's the Eastern Conference. They're not actually that good, when it was a ridiculously deep team, not only great role players, but high upside role players. On any given night, it's Obi Toppin giving you 20, or Aaron Nesmith hitting 5 threes in like a minute and a half against the Knicks to go ahead and knock. TJ McConnell looked like the greatest player to ever play the game of basketball. He's hitting fadeaway middies in the third quarter of Game 5 over Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein getting and ones. Like they
What
were
position
playing
does TJ McConnell
at an
play?
unbelievable. He's point guard.
What position does SGA play?
It's not one-to-one guarding positionally. That's not how it works. Because we also have Lou Dort, who's like a better defender. So Lou Dort, if TJ McConnell's the one going off, and a lot of times it's like Cason Wallace who's guarding him, who's also an elite defender. It just didn't matter. And
So
also,
the Pacers got to 7 games out of luck.
No, not out of luck, because they're playing at one of the highest levels I've ever seen for a team that does, they don't have that top 5 player. I'm someone who firmly believes you can't win a championship without a top 5 player.
Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics the year before against pretty much the same Indiana Pacers team. How many games did that series go?
It's not the same Indiana Pacers team by any means, because Halliburton was on a whole new level.
He
Pascal
averaged 18
Siakam was
points
playing
per game. He wasn't an all-star last year. He was an all-star the year before.
It's a completely different thing, because this season, Halliburton, the big thing is the clutch ropes and the clutch performance. It was legitimately the clutchest team in NBA history in these playoffs. They were not at that same level. And I do agree that Celtics team was unbelievable.
How many games did it go?
Against that Pacers team, it went 4.
It went 4 games.
And it was right down to the wire almost every single time. A couple, Miles Turner doesn't hit a bank 3 and the Thunder win game 1. And then it goes 5, 6. It goes 5.
You remember 2021? Who won the NBA Finals?
In 2021 was the Milwaukee Bucks.
Right, and who was the best player on that team?
Giannis.
Right, yeah. And after that final series, where would you have said Giannis ranks in the league? If you could remember back then.
I personally thought it was Braun at that point, but I think Giannis is right there in that conversation.
All right, me personally, I think Giannis was the best player in the league after that. I mean, what do you have in the closeout game?
50.
50 in the closeout game.
I think
an iconic moment with the block on Ayton. Giannis was the best player in the world after he won the ring.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah.
What has Giannis done over the past few years to warrant him not being the best, or in your case, not even the second best player in the world?
Yeah.
Has he gotten worse?
No. So for reference, I have Giannis number 3. But I don't think he's necessarily gotten worse. If anything, I think he's even gotten a little bit better, because the mid-range jumper, that came along in a big way this season. And I don't think them losing in the playoffs the last couple of years is his fault. Either it's him injured or it's Dame injured. The team has been very injury prone. Yeah, for sure. am not a hater of Giannis at all. I just think that Shai and Jokic have reached this ridiculous level to the point where they have passed him just ever so slightly. Jokic, of course, this past season had one of his best seasons, hyper efficient, right there averaging a triple-double, one of the best offensive peaks we've ever seen. Whereas with Shai, he's one of the most consistent scorers ever. He's a good defender. He's an improving playmaker. People do not give him enough credit for that. Growing as a three-point shooter, Shai has just every single offseason gotten better in pretty much every category of basketball to the point where he's now one of the most well-rounded players in the sport. With Giannis, he's one of the best interior forces we've ever seen, but there is still, not the three ball. And I think
he doesn't need the three ball. We all know Giannis doesn't need the three ball. Like we just said, we saw him at 50 points in a closeout game in the NBA
I have him as the third best player in the league without a three ball. Like he is that capable type of player, but I do think that brings limitations and potentially lowers the ceiling of a team a little bit when your top player isn't able to.
He won an NBA championship.
I know, but like now, I believe the league there's better teams in the league right now than there were in 2021. I think that same Bucks team would have lost the Thunder in this year's championship. For Giannis, he's able to reach this level without the three ball, and the mid-range jumper is improved, but it's still not knocked down the way that like Shai's is. He's not a hyper-efficient, consistent scorer the way that Shai and Jokic are. I think they have that higher upside, and Giannis is still ridiculous defensively, but I do think the past couple of seasons he's taken a bit of a step back, and that's been in large part because he's been asked to carry a bigger offensive load with the Dame thing not really working, and then you trade Chris Middleton for Kuzma for some reason. It's not really his fault, but he's been taxed more in the offensive end, so there are more lapses defensively. Like I don't think this past year he was an all defensive caliber player. Where I'm not saying Shai is or Jokic is, but
we all know when Giannis needs to be, he could still be an all defensive level player with that
athleticism,
with that frame. We know when it comes down to it, we saw it in the biggest moment. He made one of the biggest plays.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Jokic and Shai have taken it to a new level, and you also mentioned that, like I asked, has Giannis gotten worse? You said no. Giannis was on that level. He's still on that level. Even you said Giannis might have even gotten better, which I agree with.
Yeah.
3 straight years of averaging damn near 30, 12, and 6?
Yeah, he's ridiculous, yeah.
So in my opinion, I think Giannis is a better defender than Shai, obviously. I think you could agree with that.
Yeah, with the size, yeah, I agree.
He's not as dynamic, I guess you could say, as a scorer because he does it in a different way, but I mean, he averages 30 just like Shai does. You could argue he's more dominant as a scorer. I think Giannis, honestly, is a better playmaker than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think Giannis, overall, is just a better basketball player than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
My next claim is that the Thunder trading for Shai is the best trade in NBA history.
2 trades definitely, maybe even 3 I'm going to bring up. First off, Danny Ainge fleecing the absolute heck out of the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, that
basically transitioning from one era of KG Pierce and then and Jason Terry, was part of that trade too, but that wasn't really so Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, you transition from that era of winning a title in 2008 and you transition directly into the Tatum Jaylen Brown era, which has resulted in a championship.
Yeah.
Now the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trade is a huge one, but I just think that when you can parlay former superstars like that, KG and Paul Pierce, into two top 3 draft picks. Yeah, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in back-to-back years. I just think that's unprecedented. And then honestly, Drew Holiday has been a part of 2 trades recently that have directly led to NBA championships. Also with the Boston Celtics. Prior to that, the Milwaukee Bucks. Drew Holiday, a guy that people looked at, when he was in Philly, and then when he was in New Orleans for that weird Davis DeMarcus Cousins era, they looked at him as, okay, he's a decent, rest in peace. Yes, good point guard, good defender, could put up 15, 19 points, not anything crazy. To becoming the key piece on 2 championship squads, I think those 3 trades, honestly, in my opinion, surpassed that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trade.
Drew Holiday, yes, X factor, game changer, ultimately got them over the hump.
The key piece in both titles, I think. Those titles don't happen without him.
Agreed. Yeah, they don't get there without that. But they're also, the Thunder might not get there without Alex Caruso. Is the Alex Caruso trade suddenly one of the greatest of all time? I don't think so. Isaiah Hartenstein, he's a signing. Is he one of the greatest signings in NBA history?
We're talking about trades, not signings.
Yeah, no, I'm just bringing up, you can get all these key pieces, but while Drew Holiday was absolutely a game changer for all those teams, 100%. But Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, those guys are more impactful. Derek White, I think, is also, more impactful too. Adding Kristaps Porzingis, I think that is a huge lopsided trade too in the Celtics' favor. Brad Stevens, the fact that he went from one of the best coaches in the league to one of the best GMs, it's ridiculous.
I think he might be the best GM.
I think at minimum top 3. I agree. So I think the bigger argument is, I think that Celtics Nets one is also in the conversation because it is crazy to go from, hey, we've got all these stars, we win a championship, to, oh yeah, now here we are, we've got Jason Tatum, who's a top 5 player in the world when he's healthy. We've got Jaylen Brown as well, who's an all NBA level player, who won Finals MVP. 100%, that is one of the greatest trades ever. But I think also now we've reached a point
most
where
impactful.
we reach a point where the Thunder also got, Shai has peaked higher than Tatum has as an MVP. Jaylen Brown and Jalen Williams both as all NBA players. I think Jalen Williams is going to be better than, I think he's
one of
better
them's
than
the Finals MVP, as you pointed out.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about the accolades, and sure, maybe you could say Jaylen Brown's peak is higher because he won Finals MVP, but I think long-term Jalen Williams, I think he's a better player right now, and I think he's a better player long-term. Part of it could just be the position that they're set up in, but they don't get there without Sam Presti making that trade, getting all the assets, getting those guys, getting the ability to maneuver pieces around, make things work financially, to be able to sign Isaiah Hartenstein, to be able to bring in Alex Caruso in that trade. The Thunder don't work the way that they do, and not only now have they won one championship, I do think Tatum and the Celtics can get there again, but with Tatum tearing his Achilles, things are now very much up in the air, whereas the Thunder, I feel like, are set up with a very good runway to potentially win 2, 3, maybe even more than that.
I think it's comparing apples to oranges. Ultimately, I just think the fact that you were able to directly parlay one championship contending team directly into another one with those draft picks, more so than the Thunder. I think the Thunder took a little bit more time to get there. The Celtics were able to compete quicker than OKC was, I believe, at that high of a level. Celtics were in the conference finals against LeBron just a year after getting Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
That trade paid off quicker and more rapidly than the OKC one did.
Yeah, my last point is I'd argue it's more impressive to turn a team that was not a championship contender, that had no pieces where people are like, oh, they were able to win a championship, turn that into the trade that then gets you to a championship.
I think the fact that you can flip championship into championship is more impressive.
No, I think it's a lot easier to take a team that won a championship into then a championship contender within 5 years. Like, that's crazy to be able to pull that off, really just almost solely by one trade.
I don't think we're seeing it yet, but I feel like Luka is going to be the greatest trade in NBA history.
Yeah, I think there definitely is a world where it gets to that point, but I don't perceive it that way. So right now, of course, it's led to a championship. I think people forget too, like, obviously you get Shai, the MVP, on an all-time type of trajectory, but Jalen Williams also comes from that trade. Like, the pick that got the Thunder, Jalen Williams, was also from that trade. So not only is it an MVP, it is an all-NBA level player as well, plus more draft capital down the line, the stuff that the Thunder can still move and flip because, salary cap comes for us all. It's, the devil at this point in the NBA.
Of course.
Like, it comes for everybody. So at some point, we might have to flip players, might have to maneuver the financial situation. So you've got those picks. Presti, one of the best GMs in the business, I'd say the best GM. Give him all that maneuverability. Like, it's just ridiculous the value they were able to get back.
Of course, I think this is a long game though. They won the championship. We don't know if they're going to do that again. History says that they're not. There hasn't been a repeating champion since the 2017 Warriors. That's the greatest team in NBA history.
Agreed.
We're going to have to watch this play out over the long run. The pieces that they build around Luka, we're kind of seeing it right now. They got Aiden. They got a good team around him now. I feel like if you bring the right pieces around him, that is a team that we can see repeat in the future.
Yeah, so for the Thunder, I do believe they'll win more championships. Obviously, I'm going to have that opinion. I think they'll go back-to-back. But you're right. History says that they probably won't. It's just so hard to repeat in the NBA. I just think also, though, Shai right now in his mid-20s, Jalen Williams in his early 20s, Chet in his early 20s, I think there's such a long runway still for this team. And, we've seen a lot of teams where we're like, oh, could they be the next dynasty? And it doesn't work out. But I think the Thunder are in such a unique position when you take a look at the youth and the high-level talent that is already there, like the all-time, the numbers that they racked up in net rating, double-digit wins and stuff. I don't think this team is going to show any regression anytime soon. So I think they'll win multiple championships, and getting an MVP and an All-NBA player to lead you on that path, it's hard for me to conceptualize a trade that's better than that, but I do think the Luka trade is one of the better ones. Like, thinking about the fact that, the Lakers were kind of dead in the water at the end of the LeBron, Anthony Davis era. I don't think AD can be the best part of a championship team at this point. Luka can.
Absolutely.
And to get a new face of the Lakers, like, you take a look at the big market that they are and the amount of jersey sales it's going to bring in, everything like that. I do agree it's going to go down as one of the best trades in NBA history. My main thing also is that the Lakers don't have a lot of assets to build around Luka. I think it's going to be hard to build a team that can compete with this Thunder team on a regular basis. Wemby and the Spurs are coming, the Rockets. I think it's going to be hard for Luka to win in that environment consistently the way that the Thunder are going to be able to.
I think that's something, like I said, we're going to have to see that play out in the long run. Like you said, they have nice pieces around them, but it's not guaranteed that they're going to get better.
Yeah.
You look at somebody like Andrew Wiggins. He won the championship for them in 2022, came back in 2023, he was terrible. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to him. That can very well happen with somebody on the Thunder as well. Somebody like a Jalen Williams, he can come back and very well regress. We're going to have to see how that plays out in the future. Somebody like Luka, he's on an upward trajectory that we haven't seen before. He's going to become one of the greatest players of all time, in my opinion.
Agreed.
We haven't seen people drop 70, insane numbers, 60, 20, and whatever it was against the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? That's something that is insane, and I feel like over time he's going to be a better player than SGA in the future. and it's going to be one of the greatest trades of all time, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think we'll get there for sure, man.
Of course, yo.
Hey, good talking, bro. Appreciate it.
Are you familiar with one Kobe Bryant?
I am familiar with Kobe Bryant.
So you're aware that Kobe Bryant was drafted as Charlotte Hornet and then traded for?
Yeah, funny enough, just like Shai was traded.
So for 20 years, Kobe Bryant was a Los Angeles Laker, acquired via trade, and in those 20 years was contending almost every year, won 1 MVP, and everybody knows it should have been 2 over Steve Nash, and won 5 championships. And your claim is that Shai Gilgeous was the most important trade in NBA history, correct?
The Thunder trade, getting Shai, getting Jalen Williams, the Paul George trade was the best trade. Yeah.
Valid. I think Sam Presti is one of the most incredible GMs in all of professional sports for what he's been able to do to stockpile drafts that turn into the players that have supported Shai Gil.
Yeah.
He's not Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
So to bring a guy in via trade at the very beginning of his career and develop him over 20 years to become one of the greatest basketball players who ever lived is a significantly more important to the NBA, more important to NBA history, and more important to an individual player's development, the Kobe Bryant trade.
I do think, trading for a guy like Kobe.
Thank you.
Hey,
thank you, guys.
Whatever. I do think trading for Kobe, obviously changed everything for the Lakers. But the thing is with me for the Thunder, they just won a championship, and I think the runway is very long to win more than that. With the Lakers, a lot of it is like Shaq as well, and trading for Shaq. Like the Thunder got the top 2 guys on the team right now, the MVP, All-NBA guy in Shai, and Jalen Williams, also All-NBA guy, in one trade, plus a ton of draft capital to bring in other pieces. Like trading for Kobe, that's one of the best decisions in NBA history. But also Kobe, there was leverage there. He's like, I don't want to play for Charlotte. Like there was also that. There was leverage too with the Thunder. Kawhi wanted to play with Paul George. Like there was a little bit of that play there too. But ultimately, I think Kobe is the best player to get picked up in one of these trades. But I think to build out your top 2 championship players, the 2 guys that got you over the hump, Shai, Finals MVP, and Jada putting up a 40 ball in the finals, and again, all NBA, all defense, getting both those guys as well as a million assets in addition in the same trade. I think it's just better.
I think it could be considered a bigger trade, but I also would present to you the idea of player mobility did not exist in the way that it did. The way that it does now, back then. The reason that Alexander trade happened the way that it did was because Kawhi had that leverage. He wanted to play with Paul George, and he had a demand in where he wanted to go and who he wanted to play with.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant had no part in that trade, right? So I'm not saying Shai had a part in the trade. He wasn't a guy that was being sought after as much as he was the guy being settled for when they got rid of the guy that they actually wanted.
I think there's also an aspect, though, of the ability of Sam Presti. When we're talking about the trades, I think it also matters what the GM is able to do, like how to make the best situation possible. He went to the Toronto Raptors and, again, was like, hey, he brought leverage to them and was like, I could give you Russell Westbrook and Paul George for Pascal Siakam. You could keep Kawhi Leonard. That got the Clippers a little bit more worried. They're like, okay, we have to give up more. They desperately did not want to give up Shai. He's like the guy they didn't want to give up, and that's where the trade was most hinged on. And ultimately, the Thunder are able to extract Shai from the Clippers, get him into the system, develop into the player he is now. And I do believe, again, trading for Kobe, obviously, pretty good decision, I would say. But getting 2 All-NBA players, one of whom is an MVP, and we don't know how high Shai is going to go. I'm not saying he's going to pass Kobe all time, but Shai could very well end up in those all-time conversations if he continues to rack up championships and things like that. Part of it is me also projecting. I do agree. We've seen Kobe.
You're playing a what-if game to see what he may become. And I think that's valid. He's an excellent player. But if we're talking about the most important in NBA history, we're talking about what has happened. And what has happened is Kobe showed up, won 5 titles, 3 with Shaq and 2 by himself.
To be fair, if we're talking important, I do think the Kobe trade is more important to the lore of the NBA right now. I'm saying it's
not about the lore, it's about the results of the trade. The results of the trade were 5 championships.
But I'm saying
if you think Shai's going to win 5 championships, then we have to wait for time to tell. But right now I can tell you that Kobe already has 5.
I'm saying to me, the best trade is he got the most value back. You created a championship.
What's more value than 5 championships and Kobe Bryant?
My next claim is Shai just had the best guard season since Michael Jordan. I knew he was going to be the first one up here.
Let's start with Iverson. Iverson is a far better player, I'm sure you would agree.
No.
Because Iverson is perhaps the greatest short guard of all time. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is obviously 6'6", but as Kobe Bryant famously said, if Iverson was a little bit taller, he'd be the GOAT. He'd be in the GOAT conversation.
If I was 7 foot, maybe I'm in the NBA.
Yeah, he obviously took the Sixers to that finals where they ultimately lost to the Lakers. I actually think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the worst, whatever his name is, Shai, because his game is Shai. He's the worst leading guard since 2000. In the past 25 years.
Why?
Because every player. Let's wait. Let's go over it. Man. We've had Stephon Marbury is a better player than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Want to talk about DJ Augustine?
No. Leading
legend, by the way, DJ Augustine.
Leading guards who are not foul baiting. When we talk about basketball, it's not like baseball.
What we're here for, yeah.
You don't look at the stats. There's the eye test first. The stats support that next. Mm-hmm. And if you look at Stephon Marbury, when he played for the Phoenix Suns, when he played for the New Jersey Nets.
How did we get to Stephon Marbury?
Jason Kidd, because I heard that name. Shai is a mid-tier. He's Canadian. I don't know how to pronounce it. He's a mid-tier player. He's not great. Name 5 top players that are less than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I don't know what's being asked of me. Shai was just the best player on one of the greatest teams in NBA history. Take a look at all the statistics.
Name 5 notable players that he's better than.
5 notable players? What do you mean 5 notable players?
Guards.
Notable guards? I just said Shai had the best guard season since Michael Jordan, so any guard season
name
since
5, so we can laugh at you.
I think he's had a better guard season than individual. I'm talking individual seasons. Kobe, James Harden, Steph Curry. You're talking about Stephon Marbury. Don't slide away from the table from me.
He's a better player. If they were to play one-on-one, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would lose.
No, he wouldn't.
Yes,
he's 6'6" over Stephon.
Okay.
Honestly, love talking to you, man. Love talking to you. Good to see you again, man. It's so good to see you.
God, I've missed you. All right, let's go like one by one, right?
Okay.
Obviously, I'm sure you don't actually believe this, but 2016 Curry, go. What did he do? How
2016 Curry, I think that was the main one that I thought about when I made ultimately this claim. Transformed the league. I think ultimately it was very transformative to do what he did. 73-9. I just ultimately think not getting done the championship is what brings the season down a notch. A big part of Shai's season, I think, is completing the sweep. MVP, championship, finals MVP, scoring title, everything in between. And also having a team that had the second best net rating in NBA history, only behind Michael Jordan's Bulls in 96-97, or it might have been 95-96. I think it was 96.
So if they lose in Game 7 to the Pacers, if Halliburton doesn't get hurt, obviously they lose. If they lose,
I think
they
still
win,
win, but I think it's closer. Yeah.
If they don't win a ring, you would then not say that SGA.
Yes, I think winning a ring is a big part of it. And Shai,
but don't you think the team that he played on, like, how could you construct? You're a Thunder fan before an SGA fan, right?
Yeah.
How could you construct a better team than this? If you put 2016 Curry on, they probably win. He probably has a better season, I would say. A couple James Harden years, maybe. A bunch of Chris Paul. If you put a couple versions of Chris Paul on that team, I think they win as well.
I don't think so, just because the reason, we could have
How could you say it was better than 2016 Steph Curry? What are you talking
because
about, bro? This is the problem. Everyone wants to talk about, like, these all-time things. Shai had a great year last year. His last 3 years, again, he's been first-team All-NBA. He's been fantastic. Last year, they made the right moves. They took the jump. The year before, I mean, I don't know what happened, right? They lost in
All-NBA
the
first team,
second round.
lost. Chet didn't play this season. Lost in the play-in. Or sorry,
They
the
lost.
season before it was the Mavericks.
Okay, so now I know what happened. They didn't win at all. I'm saying
Yeah.
last year they made the right moves and they win the championship. Why do we have to make it an all-time thing? 2016 Curry transcended everything, man.
Yeah.
That guy was unbelievable, and I hated his freaking guts. I'm a LeBron fan.
I mean,
by the way.
I was a Thunder fan 3-1. 100%. I hate his guts too.
Then how about the double bang from Mike Breen when they beat the Thunder that year? I remember that was one of those moments. I remember where I was when I saw Steph Curry that year. That was actually the first time I thought, I was like, this guy might have Bron this year. Like, he might actually be on his heels. Not actually. I didn't actually think that.
Yeah.
But now we're debating SGA, whether or not he's the best player in the NBA right now. And literally nobody thinks so. How can you debate Curry? Well, you didn't even make that claim. If you made that, if you believed it, you would make that claim. You don't believe it. So you're saying 1A, 1B. If you thought he was 1A, you would say he's 1A.
Okay,
and you
1A.
didn't. Okay, great. You didn't say that before.
I did. I said I have Shai Jokic 1A, 1B.
And you're like, well, I go back and forth. Well, yeah, I never go. No, not very many people went back and forth with 2016 Stephen Curry. He was unbelievable.
No, LeBron James. I still thought LeBron was better in 2016. I still had LeBron James over Steph Curry in 2016.
Yeah, so did I. But I don't understand. But did we watch this year? Like, I don't know if it was an all-time season. He's unbelievable. He's a top three player in the league right now.
I think it had to have been an all-time season because Jokic also an all-time season, but Shai beat him out for MVP. Like, Jokic also just had one of the greatest seasons ever.
And can we get into that? I mean, obviously he shouldn't have.
No, he should have. Because,
well, where's that claim? Make that claim.
Okay, so Shai, the reason he won the MVP, a large part of it is because Chet Holmgren missed almost the entire season. Isaiah Hartenstein out to begin the season as well. You talk about Jokic not having help. Shai was missing a lot of his top guys throughout the season.
Do you know who the unanimous MVP of 2016 was?
Steph Curry.
Oh, Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Okay, the greatest point guard of all time.
I think I'd agree. Yeah,
Shai's nowhere even close. I mean, for you to have to sit up here and pump fake, drive your body into somebody else, you're not a good point guard doing that. Anybody could do that. Literally, one of us up here could do that and get to the free throw line.
I don't think anybody's jumping on our pump fakes.
All right, whatever you say. Right? Listen, what makes you think that Shai is the greatest guard of all time?
I think this season that Shai just accomplished is the best one since Michael Jordan, because almost every stat you're seeing on a nightly basis is Shai's the first guard to do this since Jordan. He's the first player to ever do this, to have this amount of 30-point games. Like the net rating, again, that the Thunder had, who dealt with a lot of injuries this season. Jalen Williams was dealing with the wrist ligament injury, and he might not even be ready to start this season because of the surgery he had to get, and still they were able to win the NBA Finals. Chet Holmgren broke his hip and missed a majority of the season as one of the best rim protectors in the NBA and one of the best offense. Like, he's the perfect type of modern big that you want. They went through a stretch where they had neither one of them or Big J Will, and J-Dub is starting at center. Like, the Thunder went through real injuries and still had the most double-digit wins of any team ever. They still had the second best net rating in NBA history, only behind the Jordan Bulls, and Shai along the way was the MVP, the leading scorer every single night. It's 30 points. A couple of times he goes up to 40. He goes up to 50, ultimately, I think 4 or 5 times this season, and he's able to will them to wins. And I do agree, Steph Curry 2016, when I made this claim, he's the guy I thought about immediately because he did really help transform the game of basketball. But I do think that was also a longer, like 2016 Steph is the moment, but I think what he and the Warriors did is an overall longer. Yeah, it's the moment that ultimately I think the big shift happened, but I think it was something in progress. You know, the Daryl Morey, Mike D'Antoni Rockets were on the way. Steph and the Warriors are the one who ultimately made the change. I'm not denying. I think Steph
influenced a whole new game of basketball.
Yeah,
you have 7
but I think that was more
3-pointers and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you see Wemby shooting like 8 threes. I don't disagree at all. If
Shai
we're talking,
has no influence on the game of basketball except for foul baiting. Everyone's from the point on from now into the future. A lot of people are going to try to attack that, but I don't even think nobody's getting that respect. Like Anthony Edwards, he complains a lot about attacking the hoop. Shai has the most drives in the season or
most drives per game. Yeah,
a lot of NBA players are scared to attack the hoop because they're not getting the same calls as Shai. It's not good. You feel
I don't think that's true in terms of the drives per game. It's, you take a look at the play style of a lot of guys. It's because Shai is so dangerous with that pull-up mid-range that teams will have to give him a little bit of space.
Dangerous with a pull-up mid-range.
He literally just had one of the greatest mid-range scoring seasons ever. He just did.
All he does is drive his body into people and then draw for a foul. It's not dangerous. He's not dangerous. Come on, that's a good mid-range.
Oh my God.
Sean Livingston. Have you ever seen Sean Livingston miss a mid-range jump shot?
You know what? Sean Livingston? Maybe.
You never seen Sean Livingston miss a mid-range jump shot. Come on. For real.
My next claim is that Shai will finish as a top 3 point guard of all time.
I'm assuming that you're putting Magic and Steph over.
Yeah, Magic and Steph are the 2.
Okay, so then what do you think that he needs to get to in order to be the third, second, first best point guard of all time?
Yeah, so when you talk about the best point guard conversation beyond those guys, you talk about like Oscar Robertson, you talk about like a Chris Paul, a Steve Nash, Russell Westbrook gets into some of those conversations. Like some people talk Isaiah Thomas, John Stockton.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of names you can go through. Not a lot of those guys have won MVPs. Like it's mainly just Steph Curry and Magic Johnson. I think Shai has the capability to win at least one, if not a few more MVPs. I think when become along Jokic maybe doesn't quite get to that point.
Sure, yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I think catching Steph and Magic specifically is hard because they've got that. Steph transformed the game, but Shai could get a few more MVPs. I think he could win a few more championships. A lot of those top guards don't have a ton of championships. There are some guys in that conversation.
It's tougher for point guards to carry a team to win. I understand.
Yeah, for sure. But when I talk about, the ability to win MVP, rack up all NBA first teams, I just think Shai, he's already hit this extremely high level. The Thunder won a championship so early in his career. A lot of the all-time greats might not get there for a few more seasons. I think the runway is really long. The team is really well set up to support him and help him bring those accolades together that get him to that third spot. I'm not going to say I'm going to have him finishing above Steph or Magic because those are 2 top 10 players of all time.
Okay, are you saying that James Harden is a point guard? Are we going to count him as a point guard? Are we going to count him as a shooting guard?
I count him as a shooting guard.
Okay, so I'm going to count him as a point guard, and I think that he is miles above Shai. I think that it's not very close. I think that Harden. I'll go back to the the point of having depth on your team when you have a guy like PJ Tucker who's starting your center for most of your tenure in Houston. There's
just the one season.
Yeah. You have Clint Capella as well, who couldn't really do anything offensively but catch lobs. I'm going to go back to Oscar Robertson, who I think that I again count him as a shooting guard, point guard. I think that he's over
a point
Shai.
guard. I think
100%. I'm going to go back to Russell Westbrook until Shai is able to bring this extra level of basketball, I want to say, that's not just scoring. I'm not going to put him up there. I don't think that he's close to being up there. I will give it to him. He could go down as one of the top 3, if not the best scoring point guards. Steph's obviously going to go down as best shooting point guard. He could go down as one of the best scoring point guards we've ever seen. I will give him his flowers when it comes to that. But I don't think that you could put him in that conversation if he's not going up there with statistically with a guy like Russell Westbrook, with a guy like James Harden, with a guy like Oscar Robertson, where they're averaging triple doubles, and a guy like James Harden I think is carrying a lesser team. Russell Westbrook was able to carry a lesser team. I don't don't think that Shai was able to carry those teams without that much talent coming off the bench to the finals. And I'm going to, again, the whole depth thing is the biggest thing to me, because if he doesn't have that depth, he doesn't go anywhere. Sure, he makes the playoffs in the Western Conference. I know it's tougher to do, but I don't think that he gets to the finals without that depth, or even bearing injuries throughout the entire playoff run.
I do think now more than ever, team is important to
100%.
NBA success. Like back in the day, you could have the best player and you could just walk to championships because the overall skill level wasn't as high.
Yeah.
Now you have players that are better than ever. And when we talk about James Harden had an amazing team. I think that Rockets team that ultimately lost to the 2017 Warriors is one of the best teams ever never win a championship. I think they're in that conversation. Maybe. Chris Paul is playing an unbelievable level. It was role players perfectly situated to help Harden. And Clint Capella, not the biggest fan of him anymore, but when he was playing with the Rockets, this elite lob threat, Harden never got the team. And I'm nowhere near a ring culture guy. Like, you have to get the ring. But I think ultimately when we're talking legacies and looking at resumes at the end of the day when it's all said and done, I don't think Harden's going to get a championship. And Shai already has one. I think he could get multiple. And I have Harden as a shooting guard. I think he's right there. It's like Dwayne Wade and him. It's like the second best shooting guard ever. But we talk about, some of the other point guards like Oscar Robertson. Yeah, the triple-double, Russell Westbrook. Again, you're not going to get me to slander Russ. I won't do it.
Of course,
but,
I understand.
Winning MVP, he did win MVP. And I do agree his supporting cast was a lot less than Shai's.
100%.
But Shai, like a couple seasons ago, gets a team almost to the playoffs with Chet Holmgren out basically the entire season and a lot of very young players. It was still in a rebuilding, trying to figure it out phase.
Sure.
They get almost to the playoffs. He almost wills them to that point, gets all NBA while missing the playoffs. That's how good, that's how much he elevated that team and tried to will them there. Last season, the team had some real issues and they lose round 2 to the Mavericks. But if Shai doesn't, he did end up fouling PJ Washington in the corner, the scariest player I've ever seen, by the way, last year, PJ Washington. Like that team, they almost go to Game 7. That was an amazing Mavericks team. Like Shai has done a lot with lesser supporting casts. I think people realize, and now the team is unbelievable. I'm not going to deny that. I love this team. I'm a Thunder fan first and foremost. But I think ultimately, when we take a look at what Shai has been able to do, and ultimately the runway that he does have, pieces are going to move in and out. There probably will still be Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. But the team's going to change, and I think Shai is still capable of getting it done.
I just think my last point is until he changes the game, sure, he's a good scorer, but there's nothing I think that he does that changes the game where people are like, wow, I want to do this like Shai. Obviously, you had Magic, Kobe, MJ. You had the fadeaway with Kobe. You have the layup package with MJ. And when it comes to point guards, you have Steph. Everybody wants to shoot like Steph. Again, I consider Harden a point guard. You have the double step back. Everybody wants to do that. Every guard wants to dunk like Russ and average a triple-double. And I don't think Shai brings that to the younger generation where everybody goes, wow, I want to be like Shai. And I think all we've talked about is the foul baiting, and obviously it's what you're going to bring up. But that's his change of the game, is him getting to the mid-range, throwing a pump fake, throwing his body into somebody. I know that's not the biggest claim in the world, but I don't think he changes the game enough to be a top 3 point guard. And I think that's just my final claim.
He's talking, man.
Appreciate it.
What makes Shai a point guard?
He plays the point guard position.
He doesn't play like a point guard. No, he doesn't.
I mean,
like a point guard is Jason Kidd. A point guard is Magic Johnson. Can I speak? A modern point guard is Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham drives winning when it comes to facilitating and making his teammates better, even more than SGA. SGA just had the better supporting cast.
That's just not true. Do you consider Steph a point guard?
No.
So who can you tell me who are your top 3 point guards of all time?
Magic Johnson, Jason Kidd. LeBron James is more of a point guard than SGA will ever be.
Okay. The thing is, position.
By the way, Draymond is the Warriors' point guard, not Steph Curry.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so the way that basketball, he knows what he's doing. The way that basketball works is someone plays the point guard position.
Oh, thanks for teaching me about basketball.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. So he just plays point guard. Like that is the position that he plays. Underrated playmaker. He does make his teammates better by a lot. The team does not get. We talk about the offensive ability of this team. Without Shai, it's nothing near what it is.
To get more serious about it, I don't think it's Shai's fault because of the evolution of basketball. But basketball is now more about blending skill sets and tendencies than sliding positions. Hardenstein's creating offense from the top. Chet is one of the better facilitators as a big player. Jalen Williams is initiating offense. We got Caruso who could play a little bit of point guard. I think that SGA, it's not his fault, but just the evolution of the game tells me when I watch him play, he's more of a score-first player and not even a point guard at all. I do think Cade Cunningham is more of the point guard mold and will be a better point guard all time than SGA. Who's the better player? I don't know. I like Cade's game better. But Cade is
Everybody likes Cade's game better.
Everybody likes Cade's game better. Let's go. But listen, but no matter who you say is better or worse, Cade is more of a point guard than SGA.
I don't agree because I just think the way that I do agree basketball's changed quite a bit to the point where now
you know it covering the Thunder. You know it more than anybody.
Yeah, basketball's changed a ton. So we reached the point where point guard is no longer just about facilitating. Like otherwise,
100%.
if we're talking just facilitating, then it's like Magic Johnson and then like John Stockton is like the second best point guard ever.
Yeah, they're up there. They're better than SGA.
Yeah, I think for right now, I'm Magic. I think all time, yes, but John Stockton.
Jason Kidd clearly better point guard, not even close.
I don't think so. I think when we talk about facilitating, we can have that argument, but I think point
Floor
guard,
general,
I think
extension of the coach.
I think point guard.
SGA is not a great leader. Doesn't talk. He only does captions.
I completely disagree on the leadership thing.
He's got good captions.
The second youngest team to win a championship ever doesn't have a good leader as the best player. That's not even physically possible. You have to have a good leader to be the second youngest team to ever win a championship.
Caruso's their leader.
That's just not true. They were just able to also pull off historic things.
They are as a team. Sam Presti is their leader.
Last year, oh my God. Last year they were the youngest 1 seed ever with Shai. Caruso's not there. The year prior they almost get to the playoffs despite being injured and Chet not playing all season and J-Dub as a rookie with Shai there. Don't do this. I see what you're doing. Don't why you on me.
Sam Presti is the real MVP. The way he built around that team, it's modern basketball. It's great. He built around them in the right way. He got guys who are winning players, a little bit like the Celtics when they brought in Drew Holiday and Derek White. They brought in Caruso and Hartenstein, and that's why they won the title.
Yeah, you need a team more than ever, but Shai's the point guard.
So the argument here is you're talking about top 3 point guards, right? Now, we all know in today's NBA, guys, that it's positionless. It really is difficult. I mean, the last guy just said it, that Draymond is arguably the point guard on the Golden State Warriors. They facilitate the offense.
He's a point forward, I'd say.
They facilitate the offense through Draymond Green more than anybody else. I think it's very hard to define positions anymore in basketball, and I think it will only become increasingly harder and more difficult to do that as time goes on.
Agreed.
I find it very, very tough nowadays to rank by position, because is Anthony Davis a power forward or a center? Even DeMarcus Cousins at times.
Yeah.
There are a lot of guys when it comes to positions, you can't put them in a box. You can't define them. LeBron is everything. He's all 5 positions. So when it comes to position rankings, I think honestly we need to throw that out of the water. That shouldn't even be a thing anymore. So in terms of SGA being a top 3 point guard, no, he could be a top player all time. I don't think he's going to be, but you'll probably argue he will.
Yeah.
Ranking positions shouldn't be a thing anymore because players are too multifaceted, multi-talented, and are asked to do multiple things on a basketball court. It doesn't make sense to limit guys to ranking positions anymore. It just doesn't.
No, and I honestly, I do kind of agree with that. I think positions, it's harder than ever to determine what somebody is because everybody is doing more. Just the way that basketball has grown, players have to be better, have to be more versatile. You think about players in the mid-2010s or like early 2000s that just couldn't play today because they just had no offensive game. They get phased out. They just leave them open the three-point line, and they're just not existent. Like, I do agree, positions have changed a ton. So, but I'm just saying,
positions have become non-existent.
Yeah,
almost,
it's definitely hard.
Not changed, become non-existent. Because
I do still think there is existence within positions. I do think there is still some, but I agree. It's a reason like why I don't in any of my content. Like, I'm not going to do a top 10 point guards going to league this season ranking because I just think it's hard, and people are going to nitpick. Like, well, is that guy point? Like it's the
like
stuff
I'll
that
be
we're
honest.
seeing now.
I've done that before in my content. Or like you know, when I started 3 years ago, I would do that in the beginning. Oh, top 5, top 10, and every time people will be like, well, but T-Mac's not this. James Harden's not that. Again, Harden, is he a point guard or shooting guard? That was the most common discrepancy.
Yeah.
What is James Harden? Comment down below what you think James Harden is, because I personally listen. I don't know what he is.
That's a good plug. That's a great
because
plug.
genuinely, is he a point guard or is he a shooting guard? Because I'm curious what you guys think. But ultimately, if we go through maybe the top 10 players in the NBA, you could make an argument that every single one of them is a multi-positional player, that not one of them has a set position to their name. And because of that fact, Nikola Jokic is more of a point guard than he is a center. So in my opinion, how can you rate, like, we're going to rate Nikola Jokic top 10 center? He's the only center in the history of the game that plays as a point guard.
And I don't think that's changing his position. I think it changes where he
kind of is.
Because I think because of the way basketball has changed, we can't anymore look at those traditional roles were. Like Jokic, plays like much more of a point guard back in the day, but because the game is modernized, because it's changed, to me, Jokic is one of the best centers ever because that playmaking is differentiating him from the other top centers of all time. I think with Shai, ultimately the scoring that he brings to the table and ultimately what he'll finish with accolades-wise will differentiate him from some of the other point guards up there too. And if we just want to talk rankings, like Magic and Steph, I think the only two who are thought of as point guards that will ultimately finish higher than Shai. Like, I think he'll finish higher than the other guys on that list.
I think that going forward, you are never going to have somebody agree on not just the order, but who's on a list for position rankings, because nobody's ever going to agree on what position a single guy is for the remainder of the NBA. I would even argue in the history of the game until it maybe shifts back to more position basketball as opposed to positionless.
Yeah, but it's positionless, 100%. So, like, I guess just maybe more so the claim that I can just say is anybody you think of right now, your all-time point guard list, the only two I think he'll finish behind is Steph and Magic Johnson. My next take is that Shai will lead the Thunder to at least 3 championships.
Oh my God.
3 championships. So he already got 1.
Yep.
He needs 2 more. It's not happening this year, I'll tell you that much. Why? Because it's going to be the Denver Nuggets. Getting Cam Johnson in place of Michael Porter Jr., I think you could agree with this too, is probably the best move of the entire offseason.
Definitely one of them, yeah. I think Kevin Durant to the Rockets is better, but I think Cam Johnson up there, yeah.
Right, Kevin Durant's the better player. But in terms of the impact on the team, I think Cam Johnson fills a void for the Nuggets that Michael Porter Jr. left in there. I mean, there were times in that playoff run where he looked unplayable. And I think adding him, his off-ball movement, his movement as a cutter paired with Jokic's passing makes the Denver Nuggets the team to beat in the West, not the reigning champion Oklahoma City Thunder. I think with Nikola Jokic being far and away the best player in the world for the next probably 5 to 7 years, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as good as he is, I know you're going to argue he's the best in the world. He's not. It's Jokic in a tier of his own, and then everyone else. All the Nuggets have to do is put competency around him, which they lacked last year. They gained this year with the addition of Cam Johnson, with Bruce Brown coming back to town, with Jonas Valanciunas, who's made the play-in every year since the play-in became a thing. Someone told me that today.
Play-in legend, Jonas Valanciunas, the ball knower.
But I think the Nuggets with competency are just, I think they have more of a shot for the next few years than the Thunder. Listen, the Thunder are a great team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a great player. Who do I trust more with the game on the line? It's going to be Nikola Jokic every single time.
I do think that the Nuggets are the biggest challenger to the Thunder this year. I would agree. I think they're better than the Rockets, especially losing Fred VanVleet. Right. I already felt like the Rockets were third, but I think losing that playmaker hurts them quite a bit more than people realize. With the Nuggets, they definitely got better. I think Cam Johnson is an upgrade. Bruce Brown coming back in, Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm not really high on the Jonas Valanciunas thing because I do think he brings up their offensive floor a little bit, but
better than DeAndre Jordan.
He is better than the corpse of DeAndre Jordan. I will agree, but also I just think like you take a look back at the Thunder Pelicans series a couple years ago, like it was abysmal for him getting attacked every possession defensively. Yeah, it's a nightmare, and I already think Jokic, that's something that teams try to do with him. He's improved in that regard, but I think that's already a way you can attack. With the Thunder, like elite defensively, one of the best defenses ever this season, and last year top 3 offensively as well. Shai, I expect growth as well from a very, very young team, the second youngest team to ever win the championship. With the Nuggets, if they win the NBA Finals, I'm not shocked, but I do believe that right now I still worry about them defensively because they didn't do a lot to address it in the starting lineup. Like Jamal Murray's not a great defender. Cam Johnson is better than Michael Porter Jr., but he's not a great defender by any means. Aaron Gordon is a great defender, but last year they asked more for him offensively, and so that took his defense down a little bit of a notch. Peyton Watson's a great defender, but I think his lack of consistent scoring could lead to him not being able to be on the court as much, especially against a defensive team like the Thunder. Christian Brown, he's hounding. I think he's a really feisty player.
He might be the GOAT.
The Thunder, I believe, are a more well-rounded team, and I believe that with the defense the Thunder bring to the table, they're more well-equipped than anybody else to slow down Nikola Jokic and the high-powered offense that they bring. While offensively, they've got a good scheme. The Nuggets, David Altman did an unbelievable job at scheming the Thunder last year, but I think that was also growing pains to me when we talk about the experience the Thunder needed to win a championship. They got a lot of that in that series against the Nuggets, 100%. Where they did, like game 1, they got outplayed. Like you saw the youth where the fouling up 3 mistakes. Like I think a lot of that is the youth of the team. I think with another year of growth, and of course, we're not just talking about next year. I do think they'll win this year, but beyond, because it's such a young team and so many guys are locked up long term, I just think the runway is huge. It is hard to repeat in the NBA.
I was going to say, I want to leave with this. If it's not this year, things are going to get tough in the next few years because you already have Shai locked up. You're going to have to pay J-Dub, Chet, all these guys.
Yeah.
Salary cap's going to get up there, and it's going to be hard to keep some of these guys around, these great role players, and Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. Stuff like that doesn't happen when you have 3 players making damn near the supermax.
It is hard, but also because the Thunder have the picks the way that they do and because they've drafted so well. Like, you have a young guy like A.J. Mitchell coming up, and he looked great last season in limited run. You have the picks and the ability to flip players out as needed and continue to draft replacements. I mean, the Nuggets, to be fair, the Nuggets have tried to do that, and it hasn't worked the best, but because of Sam Presti's track record and because they have so many picks, they get so many more shots at finding those players that they need. Like, the Nuggets, they paid Zeke Naji. That obviously did not work out.
Set them back a while.
It's hard when because everyone's like, oh, could the Nuggets be this dynasty? Could they win a bunch? And they still could win multiple when you have Jokic in that supporting cast. They could absolutely win it this year. But they just have missed on a lot of those players. Like Peyton Watson, again, there's a lot defensively, but he hasn't quite gotten there offensively. How consistent are you going to get from Jalen Pickett? Shout out to Jalen Pickett. And Julian Strother this season, dog. But they really haven't molded into the win now players you need yet. The Thunder just have so many more shots at that because of the draft capital that they have.
The last team to even repeat was the 2017 Warriors, like I mentioned. The Thunder are very reliant on the players that they have right now getting better. Meanwhile, a lot of the teams around them are bringing in new pieces that contribute to the team in ways that the Thunder might not. You have a team like the Knicks, right? They knocked off the defending champs, the Boston Celtics, with the team that they have now playing 5-6 people a game. They bring in Gershon Yabusele, I think that's how you say his name. They bring in Jordan Clarkson, a great scorer off the bench. So they solved the one thing that they needed to solve, which was bench scoring. You got a team like the Warriors, which I have a few connects. I have the script. They are winning it this year. They bought in Al Horford.
I had the Thunder script last year. I got you.
They bought in Al Horford, bought in Seth Curry, bought in DeAnthony Melton, who was amazing for the Warriors when he was playing before he got hurt.
He was good. Yeah.
The way that the league is right now, I don't see them repeating, honestly. You have a team like the Nuggets, who the guy before me mentioned, bringing back Bruce Brown, bringing in Cameron Johnson, who was way better than Michael Porter Jr. He was trying to shoot with whatever he had on his shoulder.
Big thing on his shoulder, for sure.
He was bringing his team down, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like overall it's very unlikely that they win again.
Yeah, so to talk about a few of those teams, the main thing with the Thunder is I just feel like there were the least amount of question marks and holes in the roster compared to the rest of the NBA. For the Knicks, I do think the Knicks can win the East. They're my second behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I kind of go back and forth on it a little bit because they've looked great in preseason, and I love Yabu. I think Jordan Clarkson gives them a much higher upside score off the bench than they needed. But my issue still becomes your best two players are Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, neither of which are a good defender. And when you get into a situation where, it's Shai, it's Jada attacking you in the finals, I think that's still something I worry about. Mike Brown, I think, was the best hire they could have made because he's defensive-minded. He did some great stuff offensively with like Sabonis and Fox in Sacramento. I'm really high on the Knicks this season. I think they could get the 1 seed and win the East. I think they could win the NBA Finals.
This is their year. This is their year. This is their year.
The first time I've gotten cheered this entire time. I just had to talk about the Knicks. But the Thunder are the overall better team. They're much better defensively. And I think offensively, there is less I'm questioning because there is still also quite a bit of inconsistency with like an OG sometimes or Mikal. And Mikal Bridges, he had those great defensive plays against the Celtics in round 2, but he was not as good of a defender this year as he's been in the past, the one that they kind of need him to be to make up for the lack of defense that like Brunson and Cat bring. For the Golden State Warriors, the big thing for me is the age.
I got the script.
Yeah,
I got the script. They're winning it this year, I promise.
They are a really old team. And I think trying to keep up with a really young team like the Thunder with the athleticism that they bring, it's just going to be kind of difficult. Like, to me, it feels inevitable that at some point somebody breaks down.
They are old.
Some injury. Yeah, I mean, I believe it's the oldest starting lineup in NBA history
definitely.
If they bring out the guys that we expect them to. And Steph is ridiculous still. I still think this Warriors team could win a series if everything really breaks their way. They can make a conference finals. I think the time to get OKC was last year when the Thunder didn't have the experience that they have now. They've now won a championship, and I still worry about, like, on a nightly basis, who's the consistent number 2 behind Steph. Jimmy obviously is the first answer, but Jimmy's not really been a great regular season player the last few years, and last year playoff Jimmy didn't show up all that much, and part of that
he was hurt. He was playing with a broken butt. I will say that.
He did break his butt. That is true. Good point. It's
terrible.
It's tough to hoop with a broken butt. But yeah, so like Jimmy, I agree. I don't think it was 100%. And then Steph leaves in the Timberwolves series. And I'm not expecting Jimmy to elevate them and beat the Wolves at this point.
I'll end with this. They are old, but experience will triumph. You look at somebody like Steph, he's 37, and it looks like he's getting faster. You know what I'm saying? And when it looks for that consistent number 2, the fact that he even has a number 2 behind him is a very scary option.
Yeah, I mean, you saw him reinvigorate at the end of the season. He was way better once he got some help. I agree. I think the Warriors could do some really good stuff this season, but I just think I worry about the overall depth. Like, what are you going to consistently get from Podziemski? Like, what is that going to look like? Is Quentin Post or Trace Jackson-Davis your backup big? And you think about playing the Thunder, and it's Chet and it's Isaiah Hartenstein. I think issues start to pop up for you, and you're going to reach a point where you're just not able to keep up with the younger teams. It's one of my concerns about the Clippers too, who I think are really good, but because of the age and it feels inevitable Kawhi is going to break down at some point, I just think it limits them a little bit.
In the last 6 or 7 years, right? Don't make a 6-7 reference. Don't do it. Anyways, over this last 6 or 7 years, who is the what team has gone back-to-back? None, right?
No one since the Golden State Warriors in 2018,
Did we look at the Nuggets when they won it and said they could go back-to-back?
Yeah, I said that. Yeah.
We did, right? Did we look at the Bucks and say they could go back-to-back? I know we all said that, correct? Yeah. Okay, cool. Wonderful. So, for you guys, it took Jokic being Jokic, obviously, and then we have Michael Porter Jr. get hurt, and then we have Aaron Gordon get hurt.
Yeah,
so two guys had to get hurt for you guys to push them to 7. So then you get pushed to 7 in the NBA Finals in a series you were supposed to dominate. And what happened? Tyrese Halliburton pops his Achilles in a Game 7 when he's going off in the first quarter.
Yeah,
so many teams are just getting better and better and better. And then, of course, the New York Knicks. My Knicks are going. I know I'm wearing a Nuggets jersey right now. They're the favorites to win it, but my New York Knicks are going to come out of the East, and they are going to put belt to ass against the Oklahoma City Thunder. You guys can make it. You guys can make it for sure. But once you get there, you got to beat us. So that's what's going to happen. But Jason Tatum also going to make that comeback. So we'll see about the Boston Celtics.
Man, I don't really think Tatum should come back that quick. I'm gonna be honest. I'm worried about that. But yeah, no, with the Knicks thing again, to me the worry is I do think they got better, and I think they are a championship contender. I'm not gonna disagree with you there, but to me I'd pick the Thunder in a series over them because again I worry about the defensive. Like, can you survive with Jalen Brunson and Cat out there consistently? I do think it seems like they're going to go with Mitchell Robinson at the 5 and Cat at the 4. I think that's the way they should go. I think it should be those guys. Josh Hart moved to the bench alongside, of course, Brunson, McHale, OG. I think that's the best lineup to use, and it looks like Mike Brown's going to do that. And the reason going into last season, I had the Knicks losing to the Celtics in the conference finals, my preseason prediction. Obviously, hey, I'll be honest. My YouTube video I made is, do the Knicks have any chance against the Celtics? And I underestimated them. Clearly, the answer was yes. And
I'm
the
on
Knicks,
camera saying they were going to lose too.
And Jalen Brunson, top 10 player, Karl Anthony Towns, might have just had the best season of his career. Like, he was unbelievable.
Yes.
And I do think there was a lot more to be unlocked there offensively with that. And I'm hopeful Mike Brown can do that. But I just think about the Thunder, where top 2 offense, one of the best defenses ever. I think it just becomes a big question mark when you think about the Knicks going up against them. How are they going to survive on a consistent defensive basis against a team that's capable like that? I do think the Nuggets are the biggest threat. The Knicks are one of the bigger threats. But that going into the season, I expect a team that is so vastly young to rapidly improve. Chet, no longer, or at least fingers crossed, knock on wood, he doesn't break the hip again or anything. He's able to have a full healthy season. J-Dub gets right in his wrist, and I think the Thunder will just look a lot more convincing this season.
Nuggets are winning in 4.
My next take is that Shai will make himself the face of the league.
Oh my goodness.
I knew that's the one he was looking for.
To be the face of the NBA, you need to have a great personality. It's not just about your on-court accolades and your stats and being the best scorer in the NBA. There's way more that goes into it. I toured the country interviewing fans of all sports. NBA, I've been to the West Coast, East Coast, the South, everywhere. I've been to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Half the people I talk to about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander think his name is Shai. You cannot be the face of the NBA if half of the fan base doesn't know how to pronounce your name. Next up, personality matters for being the face. Tell me this, who are the last 2 faces of the NBA?
Faces of the NBA, I'd say, LeBron, Kobe, Jordan. We could talk about Steph a little bit in there too,
I would argue it's been LeBron and Michael Jordan.
You don't think someone's taking the torch yet?
I don't think anyone's taking the torch, and I don't think that the torch is automatically passed in these leagues. I don't think every league always has a face, and I think we're going to be in that time. With that being said, I think part of becoming the face, LeBron was kind of, before he was even in the NBA, he's on all these magazines, he's talked about, the documentaries are being filmed, he was the chosen one.
Yeah.
He had that going for him. I think to become the face, there has to be a lot of buildup to you becoming the face. Jordan, he had that big shot in college. UNC, absolutely historic. SGA, what was he, the 20th pick?
He was the 11th.
He was good at Kentucky, but lost in the tournament. He started the Clippers. He's in a big trade package for Paul George. He's on the Thunder, and now he's on a very good team, and he's already being called a free throw merchant. A lot of people don't want to give him his flowers already. I don't think he has the personality. I think he's low-key like, let's say Kawhi Leonard is a robot. I think he's like the second generation. We're like, oh, we kind of improved this robot. He has a little more personality. This robot can frickin' draw fouls. Like, it's a little bit better of a Kawhi, a little more human. And people, they talk about his great style. I think it's very goofy. I think it's a little like, would you ever dress as SGA?
I can't pull it off, no.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think most people can. I don't think his style is great. I think it's just, it's different and it's flashy, but I don't think that actually means good style. And last but not least, that commercial he did with Chet Holmgren, where he's singing that song. What song is he singing?
What a pro wants, what a pro needs.
I think in order to be the face of a league, you cannot be that cringe. And while SGA is definitely the man, I'm not trying to say I'm any cooler than SGA. He's not cool enough. He's not vocal enough. He's not personable enough. He's not relatable enough to be the face of the NBA. And he just does not have the story going for him. With that being said, if there is anyone in the NBA right now who has the chance to be the face, with the ingredients to be the face, and I know this totally could not happen, it's not Wemby, it's not any of these European guys, it's Cooper Flagg. Yes. Watch it.
Is there a face of the league today?
Face the league today, I still think if I had to say one, it was LeBron. Okay. But I think we're in this transitional period where the NBA is going to have a new face of the league. Someone will have to come along. And for example, it's talked about the personality. I think a lot of that is starting to show now with, the shoes that he's putting out, selling out. And
does anyone know his shoes? I have no idea. So, no clue.
Well, exactly. What I'm saying
I know shoes.
What I'm saying is it's very early on in this era. And I think the NBA has reached a point where, LeBron is about to retire pretty soon here, and a new face of the league has to come along. He might play till 50. I know. I'm sorry to bring that up for you. But LeBron is so corny. It's ridiculous. I love LeBron, but he's the man. But he's also
became the man first, and now he's like a little bit of a cornball, right? But SGA kind of became a superstar, right? You could say he was the last 3 years. This really took him to a next level, right?
Yeah.
You still haven't really told me what one has to do to be the face of the league. What does he have to do? You could answer that. How does he get to be the face of the league?
I think the face of the league is a few things. Number one, I think there has to be controversy. I don't think you can have a face of the league that is completely uncontroversial. LeBron is one of the most controversial players we've ever had. People love him. They hate him. We're doing a whole thing right here now where it's me defending Shai against 10 people.
Yeah, this is like the first, and we were all thinking of points. We're like, wait, where did he go to college and stuff? Nobody knows about this guy. Where's the controversy that comes from notoriety, right? Which he has none of.
So exactly. That's why I'm saying, I'm not saying he is the face of the league right now.
What does he have to do? That was my
question. So I think part of that is building that controversy like we're seeing now when Shai's now in the national spotlight. The Thunder have the most nationally televised games out of anybody. The fact that he drew OKC to that, I think, showcases the team's ability, but more specifically him as the headpiece of that squad. And then you talk about the fact that people are like, he's a free throw merchant. And I believe you're going to be seeing a lot of Shai late into May, into June, competing for NBA Finals. You have to win. You have to be controversial. And I think he's extremely marketable.
His play style is controversial. People say that as a negative. Everyone's like, oh, is he a foul baiter or not? And people with LeBron say, oh, he lies. He says, that's my favorite saying. That's the controversy.
No, people say that LeBron went to a super team. The fact that he's a flopper. These are things that have been said about LeBron a million times. I just feel like
because of the controversy, that's what's going to get SGA to being the face of the league because people say he's a free throw merchant?
You asked me what makes someone a face of the league. I think
that was your answer.
I think controversy has to be a big part of it.
The controversy being he's a foul baiter. So that's it. What other than controversy?
I think we've also discussed the controversy of it's his team around him. It's not really Shai elevating him. He's not actually this good. I spend a majority of time. I go hoop here at the courts in New York City, and I'm wearing a Thunder shirt.
You couldn't guard me.
We should actually try that. That'd be fun.
Right.
I go there and people are like, "Oh, Shai sucks. The Thunder aren't actually that good." That's
what they say. Yes.
Yes, they do.
But isn't
chill out, Stephon Marbury?
I don't understand. I don't understand that. You keep saying the controversy. The controversy being his play style. I feel like that's a very bizarre hill to die on.
I've referenced 10 things already. It's the fact that it's the same. People say that he flops. It's the same thing with LeBron. He went to a super team. Shai's got all this talent. He's got Chet and Jalen Williams and Sam Presti's one of the best GMs. It's stuff we've talked about today.
I didn't even get to make my point. Victor Wembanyama is going to be the face of the league. How could SGA possibly surpass? Have you seen that guy?
Because I think the thing with Wemby, yes, terrifying. But the thing with Wemby is they upped his height to 7'5". Yes. I think it's hard for someone who is 7'5" to be the face of the league. We talk about guards are usually the face of the league.
Wait till you see LeBron, dude.
It's guards or LeBron. He kind of has you can talk.
What?
You can play a little bit more like LeBron's style than you can play like Victor Wembanyama. I'm not saying anybody can be LeBron, but I'm saying you can try to be this downhill slasher, pass it out to the corner. I'm not saying people can replicate it, but I'm saying to be I think that's part of what Steph Curry made him so loved and one of the face of the league.
Great point.
Is because he can shoot threes anybody's I want to shoot like Steph.
100%.
And I think when you think about Shai, he is a mid-range scorer primarily. People can go out there shoot mid-range jumpers.
To the play style.
Yes, I think it's hard because Wemby is also if Wemby becomes the face of the league, duh. He's very personable, very marketable. I 100% agree he can get there, but I also think right now Wemby eventually will be in that winning environment. I think Shai's already in it. He's starting earlier than Wemby is to the point where he can rack up championships and people can be like, oh, this is the guy right now, whereas Wemby might take a little bit more time. And I think just trying to relate it to the average fan, a 7'5" guy, I think it's just a little more difficult.
Okay, that was just my point with someone, because you could say SGA, let's say, wins a couple more rings, wins a couple more MVPs. The best player in the league doesn't really really equate to being the face of the league, right? You just said LeBron is still the face of the league, and some people would probably say he's not the best player right now. Maybe I would disagree with that. But so I'm saying SGA maybe could win rings, maybe he could win MVPs, be the best player, but I don't see him being the face of the league. I don't see him being more popular than Nikola right now. I'm not going to try his last name again. And he's definitely not going to be more popular than Victor Wembanyama at any point. I don't even know if he is right now.
Wemby is set up to be a much more natural face of the league. I think like him or like Anthony.
Well, that doesn't matter how naturally they get there.
No, I do. I don't think it matters how naturally they get there. But I'm saying I think it's what I'm telling you is it's a very valid argument what he said too. Like, Cooper Flag hyped up as this number 1 pick, or Anthony Edwards, or like Victor Wembanyama. Yeah. I think the hype does play a good bit into it.
Sure.
But I think also Shai breaking that mold is also something that could play into his favor. He wasn't the number 1 overall pick. It's like this overcoming story where he was dealt after his rookie season. He was an 11th pick. He was traded on draft night. Like, there is a lot of stuff that I think goes into his game that could lead him to like ultimately having this like big story, this narrative surrounding him, especially if the Thunder go on to compete for all these championships.
All right, as much as I like these guys over here, I have to disagree with them just as much as I disagree with you.
Okay.
There is no face of the NBA. There will never be another face of the NBA again. Okay. Here's why. There is an era where Michael Jordan brought basketball to the rest of the world, right? Mm-hmm. And there is an era where LeBron James became the face of basketball, being the chosen one at 18 years old on Sports Illustrated. Yeah. Media has changed in an incredible way, in a major way. Everything you want is on your phone. You can watch any game no matter where you are in the country or in the world.
Yeah.
We had to have a face of the league to introduce basketball to the world. We had to have the face of the league to grow the sport. Mm-hmm. Even as the sport continues to grow, it is more accessible than ever. Anybody can be marketable. Any market can be large, even one as silly as Oklahoma City to have a basketball team. To have a basketball team in Oklahoma City is preposterous.
A championship team in Oklahoma City.
But I'm not going to discredit them for their abilities. Mm-hmm. Marketability is across the board now. Tatum and Brunson and DiVincenzo all have commercials as well. So as much as it's fun to have a face of the league, there's no face of baseball. There hasn't been one for decades.
Shohei Ohtani, I would say, is clearly the face of baseball.
Ask any person if they want it. Look, the face of the sport should be recognizable, and I'm telling you, any casual does not know who Shohei Ohtani is. Any casual is not going to know who that is. And any casual is not going to know who Shai Gilgeous is either.
I do agree. Baseball needs to do a better job marketing. I agree. Honestly, I agree with you in a way where I do think.
Thank you.
I do think that the league right now, part of the reason there isn't like this guy is the face is because it's more global than ever. Because anybody can access highlights on their phone, like you talked about. Like more nationally televised games with the new like TV deals and stuff. There are gonna be more nationally televised games this season than ever. But I think that also plays into Shai's favor because now, like in the past, it's very hard to have someone as the face of the league in Oklahoma City. Like it's ridiculously hard to do that.
Why did you get mad when I said that?
No, because what I'm saying is now it's changed to the point where, again, the Thunder tie with nationally televised games with the Lakers, the Warriors, the Knicks. That is in large part, it's a Thunder effect, but also a Shai effect. And I think now, this is the first time they just got 19 more nationally televised games this season than last year. So I think now on a bigger basis, a lot of casual fans also don't pay attention because they're like, oh, they haven't done this yet. Now that they won a championship, I think there'll be more people paying attention. They'll be on Christmas Day. That's already been, they'll be playing opening night. They play the big calendar. They play the big calendar dates now, and I think that draws in a lot more of the casual fans. And I agree, he's not as known yet as I think he will be. I think there's still so much exponentially to grow. Like players win their first championship. He's not LeBron. He's not the chosen one. But I don't think he needs to be to get to that point because it's such a global sport. Because you can now access anything from anywhere. League Pass, nationally televised games with Shai and the Thunder, who again I think are going to be on TV a lot late into the playoffs.
I see the opposite point that you're making on my argument. I really do. I think you're underestimating the casual. They know the Knicks, they know the Lakers, they know the Warriors, they know the recognizable brands, and Oklahoma City just isn't that brand. So as much as Shai will be one of the best players in the league for years to come, there will be no face of the league because there's no way to separate himself from a Tatum or an Edwards in any other way other than on the court.
Down below in the comments, let me know who truly won this debate. Was it me or was it the haters?